Alright, so in this lesson we're going to continue with finding your demographic. And I just want to go over real quick what we did in the last lesson. We installed Chrome SEO and we went over an explanation of how to use Compete, Alexa, and Quantcast. And in this lesson we're just going to continue real briefly about how they collect their information so that we can just get a basic understanding of how this information is collected. So here what Compete does is they use a control group and they make projections based on that control group, and this is, like I said before, US traffic only. Alexa uses two methods. One, they crawl the web, and the other is they have a toolbar that you can install into your browser and they can track information based on people's behaviors. So that's how they're getting their information. And Quantcast is going to do something similar to Alexa, where you can install it into your website and then they can track information and behaviors based on that. So that's the brief explanation of what those three resources are doing to collect their information. And how can we use those resources to locate our demographics? Well, we briefly went over it, but what's the starting point? Well, you can use your own website, and if you have analytics installed in your website, don't even use those resources because your own installed analytics is going to be much more detailed and accurate. But if you don't, that's our secondary option. The other way, if you're just getting started and you don't have a website, is we want to go and get a customer demographic based on our competitor's website. So we would just go to our competitor like we did in entrepreneur.com and start looking at information and building a profile based on that. Now I want to make note that just because we can get together our demographic for a particular website doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the highest converting segment of that demographic. We're going to get that information later, but it's still very important to get a general demographic segment together just for the website. There are 6 things that we're going to look at when it comes to demographics: gender, age, children, income, education, and ethnicity. And we're not necessarily going to look at all those for each campaign, because for the most part, age is going to be our most important determining factor. Next is generally going to be gender. So, but that doesn't always matter because, some offers it doesn't matter. Others, such as cosmetics or weight loss, it's going to be doing better for women. Education, again, this just depends on the offer. If you're doing lead generation for an MBA or a graduate program, you're obviously going to want to target sites that cater to individuals at a higher education level. Whether or not they have children. If this is a source that's predominantly male and the website visitors aren't showing that they have children, that's probably not going to be a good place to promote any sort of baby or parenting guides if that's your offer. Income. So if you're promoting like a premium product or something in the housing market, for example, you want to make sure that your visitors can afford what you're offering. So income would come into play in that instance. And ethnicity. Maybe you have some sort of product or service that's directed at a particular ethnicity. So for example, here I have Latino dating site. So those are all things that we want to think about. We also want to think about it in terms of category. What do they care about? What do they want? And most importantly, why should they care about your brand or your product? And the other way to do demographic analysis is by evaluating your competitors' campaigns. And I said this earlier, not their sites, but their campaigns, and see who they're specifically targeting. And the way we can do that is by doing it 2 ways. We can do it first by manual tracking. We can go to Alexa and check out a competitor's clickstream. There is a tab in Alexa when you go to it called Clickstream, and we want to look at their upstream. And what an upstream is the website that they were on before they landed on your competitor's website. So we can see how people are getting to the competitor's website. We can manually record them on sites as we see their ads around the web. This is kind of an act of labor, but we can go around the web and make notations of where we see their ad. And the other way we can do it is by going to an article directory and browse related articles. So what I mean by this is we can go to, for example, ezines.com and look under a specific category. And that category is going to show ads related to that keyword. And we're going to want to record what ads we're seeing on a repetitive basis, because we can assume that if it just keeps running and running, that it's working. The other way to evaluate competitor campaigns is by using a competitive spy platform. These are platforms that scrape the web for advertising and then compile the information and give reports based on that data. So the obvious benefits is going to save us a ton of time, and it's going to provide us a much more detailed understanding of what's working in our competitor ads and allow us to collect a better detailed information for our demographic targeting. And the two that we recommend in this course is one, mixrank.com, and the other is whatrunswhere.com. Okay, so during your research, again, keep in mind that the data is not exact. It can vary and it's not always going to be completely accurate. Alright, so during your research, I want you to try and get key performance indicators of your competitor's campaign. You know, who are they targeting? What demographic are they consistently targeting? What's their ad copy like? What wording? What's their headlines that they're grabbing their customers with? What type of advertising are they doing? Are they doing text? Are they doing banner? Are they doing some sort of hybrid? What colors are they using? What images? What's the format? Is it animated? Is it static? So those are all things that you want to keep looking at and find the reoccurring tactics that they're using in their ad campaigns. And we want your competitor to be spending the money on testing these things, and when we see them using one thing over and over, we can assume that they've found the one thing that's working, and that's what we're going to apply to our own ad campaigns. Okay, let's recap here. So before the lesson, we already learned how to use resources such as Alexa, Quantcast, and Compete. In this lesson, we've taken those resources and applied them to relevant sources that are going to give us our demographic profile. At the same time, we're also going to start doing some preliminary research on our competitors' ad campaigns.